being here and serving.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Lankford.
I would like to have a colloquy with the author on this one, just to try to get some additional information. I happen to be the chairman of ethics, so it would actually fall on me to be able to enforce this because much of the bill itself actually comes back to ethics on it. And so I'm trying to be able to track a couple of things. Senator Slotkin brought this issue up of the qualified blind trust. That has been allowed to be able to say, if you are a big stockholder and you have it, you chose to be able to sell yours off. Some others come into it and say, hey, I have stock holdings. I'm not one of those, by the way. They would come in and say, I'm going to put all this in a qualified blind trust. They're prohibited from having communication with them. That person is actually managing it, and they're separated totally. This bill would say, no, you can't do that anymore. So if you have stocks, you can't put that in a qualified blind trust any longer. Why would that be?
A couple of things. Number one, if you have a qualified blind trust and you are a member of Congress, again, you have until the beginning of your next term, should the voters see fit to reelect you.
No, I get that, but then after that, it's prohibited on it. So
correct. So for those who know ahead of time that they're going to be joining this body, they can no longer use qualified blind trust. And the reason for that is, as you know, the rules on qualified blind trusts are not airtight. They're actually very loose. It is very difficult to police. You don't police them, and the Ethics Committee.
Well, the Ethics Committee, thank you for mentioning that. Ethics Committee does police that. So thanks for telling me what I don't do. We do police that, but
you do not police the structure of the blind trust.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm your independent political analyst, no spin, no tribalism, just facts, context, and reasoned opinion. Today, we're diving into a heated and important Senate debate about financial transparency and ethics in Congress, specifically the role of qualified blind trusts, stock ownership, and even cryptocurrency like stablecoins. Let's break down what just happened and what it means.
We do, actually. Every single blind trust that's actually put in has to be approved.
And they have to, and so before, and you police then the buying and the selling and the communication back and forth between members?
We do police the communication between the members and the individuals of the blind trust. That's correct.
And so you think that that's an effective way? You're saying you think we need no changes now. You think that effectively accounts for any sort of
again, this suddenly sounds like it's personal. You're telling me what I don't do.
No, I'm just asking you a question because what we found over and over is when members of Congress have been investigated for securities violations, they have said over and over, oh, I had a trust. I didn't really know anything about it. And then as it turns out, they're communicating with their trustee, and they say, oh, we're allowed to do that. So you're telling me maybe they violated multiple laws. No, here's what I would say. I think that at the end of the day, if you're asking me why do we need to eliminate blind trusts, it's because blind trusts, I think, are often workarounds because they can be structured in multiple different ways, right? There's not one way to structure blind trusts, correct? Or there's only one way?
There is a way that you have to structure it if you're in the Senate and going through ethics. Have you gone through that process before?
No, because I don't have any of these securities, James, because when I got elected, I sold all of my trusts and assets.
Great.
I don't have a blind trust. I practice what I preach. I don't have individual stocks. I don't trade in stocks. I'm not a billionaire, unlike others on this committee. And what I think is the American people are sending us a clear message, and I hope that they are watching this today. They're sending us a message that they want us to behave as they behave.
Right. So I'm just trying to ask some questions. I'm trying to figure out some things on this because of the way that it's shaped. I've got to be able to work through this. I do believe the qualified blind trust works. The folks that you're mentioning, I think, are folks that say, hey, I had a stockbroker, I had somebody that was handling that, but that was not a qualified blind trust. That's a very different structure to be able to have that. There's prohibited communication there. Many of the accusations that have been that have come in the past several years have been somebody else was handling it, but it wasn't a qualified blind trust. So I was confused on why this particular one, because there haven't been accusations on that. That's somebody that comes in with some wealth, which I don't have, which you don't have. Someone with some wealth that comes in and says, hey, this family inheritance, whatever they may have, worked their whole life, got it. They can put in a blind trust over there. This also requires several things here. It requires you sell it rather than just prohibit trades. Several times I've heard you mention, hey, they shouldn't be trading in it. What about individuals that had stocks when they came? Why should they sell it to be able to be here? Why not just have a flat-out prohibition to say you can no longer buy, no longer sell? If you have it, stock market goes up and down, you can't touch it. You have to just leave it there. Why not, what was the decision to be able to say you got to sell it all rather than just you can't trade anymore?
Well, there is a ban on trading that would take effect immediately for all members, not just new members who are coming in, but for all members. So I've been saying over and over that you have until your next term, should you be reelected, in order to divest. But you make the important point that the trading would be prohibited immediately.
Right.
Your question is why even in the next term require people to divest? I think that the answer to that is because you know what you own, presumably. I mean, you know that you have assets in the following securities. That constitutes a financial interest, a pecuniary interest. And it presents a conflict of interest to be getting briefings, voting on legislation, doing these things where you know you could be increasing or decreasing the value of your portfolio.
We also have farmers that are here in Congress that they vote on farm policy, and they also have ag provisions as well. And so that you can't eliminate all provisions that are out there on that. So I'm just trying to be able to figure out, this also has a reporting requirement. If someone has an FHA loan, it has to come back to ethics, or a VA loan, it has to come back to ethics. If they're involved in any of the farm programs, it has to come back to ethics, and we've got to be able to track it. I'm trying to figure out what to be able to do on this. And then it eliminates the ability for someone to own crypto or stable coin. Now, we just passed a bill allowing stablecoin to exist. I'm trying to figure out why stablecoin is now in this as well. That's just a digital asset that has the same value as cash, but it's prohibited in this. I'm trying to figure out why stablecoin is cut out on this.
Well, you say in it now. I mean, it has been in it. It's in the bill that we passed a year ago before the most recent
stablecoin we just made the change on, to be able to open up stablecoin in the regulatory basis for all
Americans. We didn't make the change in this bill. Congress passed a bill.
I get that. That's why I'm just asking why it's still in this, that there's a prohibition for that kind of digital asset. Well, it's just a dollar for dollar. It's the same as owning cash. So if you own a stablecoin, that's the same as owning a dollar. It's only worth a dollar. It doesn't change in value. But a member of Congress wouldn't be able to own a stablecoin anymore.
Correct, and it's for the same reason, the same pecuniary interest, conflict of interest provisions that we think with individual stock. I mean, you have to draw the line somewhere. We drew the line in this place over a year ago when we drafted and passed this bill.
Yeah, but I'm saying a stable coin is worth $1 today. It's worth $1. It's not a tradable asset.
If it will get your vote, James, I'd be happy to change this on the floor.
No, that's what I'm just trying. I'm asking because as the chairman of ethics, I've got to be able to actually.
And if you're concerned that it won't be, and if you're concerned that we won't be able, the ethics committee won't be able to enforce it, we will absolutely work with you. And I know the Ethics Committee is a bipartisan committee.
It is.
And I know that your Democrat colleagues would also be happy to work with you to make sure that we can enforce this. We'll get you the guidance. And I'm happy to work with anybody on the floor who actually wants to change the bill to make it better. I mean, I agree with what Senator Slotkin said. This is not a perfect bill. It's not an ideal bill. Listen, there's provisions of this bill I don't like that much. But here's my bottom line. I've been working on this this is my 7th year now in the Senate. I've been working on it for 7 years. I want a bill that can pass this committee, that can pass the Senate, and that can be signed into law by the president. The ranking member and I worked for 2 years to get the compromise text last time. 2 years. Did I like everything in it? No. But you know what? We passed it through this committee. I just think this issue is too important to play politics with. We could do an easy messaging bill that would never pass. But if you want to really make a change and you want to make law, you're going to have to draw the line somewhere. So having said that, I will absolutely work with you, Senator Lankford, and anybody else who says, okay, you know what, I think this needs to be changed. You look at this and say, you know what, I don't think these pieces are enforceable.
All right, let's move the debate on.
Wait a minute. I haven't yielded, Senator Paul. This is an important debate. I think we should take all the time that we need. I think it's absolutely vital that we get it right and get it as close as we can. But what I do not want to do, and what I will not consent to, and what I'm going to be very critical of, are attempts to kill it. Where it is, well, you know, this is not quite right, so we're going to kill it here. And this is not quite what I want, so we're going to kill it. I don't want to kill it. I want to move it. I want to move it. I want to get this enacted. I want the American people to be able to trust this body. And I think that's why this vote today is so important.
All right, let's move it along. On the question of stablecoin that Senator Lankford brings up, the hope is that someday in the near future, it may be that everything you purchase on Amazon, stablecoin is a choice. It may be at Walmart you use it. So you're passing a law today that somehow may prohibit anybody in office from shopping on Amazon. So this isn't a very well thought out bill. We have a couple over here. Senator Gallego.
And in case anyone's wondering, I am not the billionaire.
This debate centers on a piece of legislation that would significantly tighten financial rules for members of Congress. The key proposal? Ban lawmakers from owning individual stocks, eliminate the use of qualified blind trusts, and even prohibit ownership of stable coins. Now, let's take a step back. Qualified blind trusts have traditionally been viewed as a way for politicians to avoid conflict of interest. The idea is you put your assets into a trust and you're not allowed to communicate with the person managing it. You don't know what's being traded, and therefore, theoretically, you're not influenced in your policymaking. But here's the catch, and it's the main point raised by the bill's sponsor. That system has cracks. The rules are vague. Enforcement is difficult. And when members of Congress get investigated for insider trading or financial conflicts, they often claim, oh, I had a trust. I didn't know anything about what was happening. But sometimes, evidence shows they were in fact communicating with their trustees, or the structure of the trust wasn't truly blind. So, this bill aims to eliminate that gray area entirely. But not everyone agrees this is the right approach. Senator Lankford, who chairs the Senate Ethics Committee, pushed back, arguing that his committee does review and approve these blind trusts and does monitor communications. From his perspective, blind trusts, when set up properly, do work. He voiced concern that this legislation might overcorrect the problem and restrict ethical members who are already in compliance. Another key issue raised: fairness. Lawmakers who enter Congress with family wealth or inherited stock holdings, should they be forced to sell everything just to serve? Why not simply ban trading rather than require divestment? And that leads us to the crypto debate. This bill also prohibits members from owning stable coins, a form of cryptocurrency that is pegged to the value of the dollar. Critics argue that this makes no sense because stable coins don't fluctuate in value and function essentially like cash. Let's be honest. Banning stablecoins might seem like a relic of outdated thinking, especially since Congress just passed separate legislation to regulate stablecoins, recognizing them as legitimate financial instruments. To the bill's credit, the sponsor acknowledged that some aspects could be changed, including the stablecoin provision, and expressed a willingness to work across the aisle to refine the bill. Now here's my take. On one hand, public trust in Congress is historically low, and financial conflict of interest are a big part of that. So, this kind of reform, while imperfect, is undeniably valuable. Lawmakers should not appear to profit from the legislation they pass or the confidential information they access. On the other hand, we do need to balance ethics with practicality. Not every blind trust is a loophole. Not every crypto asset is speculative. And we shouldn't design laws that punish ethical behavior just to close off potential abuse. Ultimately, this is a good faith debate. It's not red versus blue. It's about how to set clear, enforceable standards that protect integrity without discouraging capable individuals from public service. What do you think? Should Congress ban all stock ownership? Are blind trusts a necessary tool or just a clever workaround? And where do digital assets fit into all of this? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more independent political analysis, free from the noise. See you in the next one.